Have you ever felt so mentally drained that you cannot make even the most basic decision? Picture the scene. You've been trying your best and concentrating hard at school or university or at work, and at lunchtime your friend comes to you and asks, "Shall we have lunch inside today or shall we sit outside?" A simple question, I'm sure you would agree, but an answer seems beyond you. Your brain does not seem capable of comparing the two options for positives and negatives, and you're not able to consider the chances of rain and the fact that you've not brought a coat against the difficulty of finding an empty seat inside. If you have ever experienced this or something like this, the chances are you are suffering from mental fatigue. Before you get worried, know that mental fatigue happens to everyone. It happens very often, and it is temporary. It occurs because the human brain can only take in so much information at a time, and we only have so many mental or cognitive resources available to us. When we are focusing our cognitive resources on completing a task, such as reading a book, following a recipe to make dinner, or writing an email, we do not have spare resources to focus on other things, and over time, our resources start to become drained. Crucially, research from psychology shows that this depletion of resources depends on the task you are doing, and it depends on the environment you're in. We can use or allocate our cognitive resources in two different ways, directed or indirected. Directed thinking, also known as top-down processing, occurs when we are focusing on a task, trying to achieve a particular goal, and using our knowledge and experience. An example would be if you're having a conversation with your friend. You need to focus on what they're saying, you need to remember what they have already told you and what they told you last time you met, and you need to think about how to respond to them. Indirected thinking, also known as bottom-up processing, occurs when we are thinking with no particular purpose in mind and not putting too much focus on any particular thing. An example would be if you're lying daydreaming. Research shows that directed thinking uses up our cognitive resources, whereas indirected thinking does not. Once you have used up your cognitive resources, you could start to make mistakes. You might forget things and you could struggle to make decisions. If this happens when you're chatting to your friend, then the consequences are likely to be fairly minor. You might miss things that they say, or you might not respond in the correct way, causing them to get frustrated. But what happens if you're trying to do something more important? What if you're busy revising for a test? Or you're having a job interview? What happens if a doctor working in a hospital becomes mentally fatigued? The consequences in these situations might be more serious. Remember, mental fatigue happens to everyone. It happens very often, and it's temporary. We just need to take a break, allow our top-down processes to recover, and our brains will be good as new again. But, and this is the exciting part, cognitive psychologists have found that certain environments may help to speed up this recovery process. Introducing cognitive restoration. Studies show that environments that draw heavily on our bottom-up resources give our top-down resources space to recover. Cognitively restorative environments tend to be those that feature natural elements. Think beaches, clouds, forests, and parks. These natural elements are said to be softly fascinating. They capture our attention because they are interesting, but they're easy to process, so do not hold our attention and drain our resources. In contrast, urban environments tend to be more cluttered. They can be difficult to process, they hold our resources, and so they place a strain on our cognitive capacity. The urban environment can also be interesting, but it captures our attention in a different way, known as hard fascination. So when mental fatigue starts to hit and starts to impact on your abilities, you need a dose of nature. Research shows that even brief exposure to nature, through videos, images, virtual reality, or just looking out of the window or listening to birdsong, can lead to cognitive restoration in comparison to taking a break without any exposure to nature. We should all be more aware of our environments. The natural world contains a lot of amazing resources, and now you know that it also helps to restore our resources so we can be amazing too. Let us celebrate and protect the natural environment for everything it can give us. Go, Experience your brain on nature and let us know how you get on.